What's up, everyone? Aaron Nagler here, PackersNews.com, live on Facebook late in the afternoon on Wednesday. No new Packers news other than they did not participate in today's supplemental draft. The NFL held its annual draft after the draft earlier this afternoon. The Giants and Redskins both partaking, both taking corners, one in the third and one in the fifth. But other than that, the Packers standing pat with their 90-man roster, as I've pretty much been saying. I expected them to. And, yeah, that's about the only news there is today when it comes to the Green Bay Packers. But I thought I'd jump on, say hi to you folks, and see what's on your mind as this Wednesday rolls along. I'm probably going to keep it pretty short today, but I miss you guys terribly each and every day, and I always want to make sure to check in. That, and they pay me to do it. Manu, I am holding up fine. I'm imagining you're asking about the England loss. Hey, it's only another 4 years of waiting, right? Such is life. Do we have a hole at guard on our roster? That's a good question, Adam. I wouldn't classify it as a hole. I think they've got some talent there. I think Justin McCray is a very capable starter. I think Lane Taylor is a severely underrated talent. Obviously behind them you have some question marks, you have some youth. I think actually Byron Bell is probably best suited for guard, although it sounds like the Packers are going to try him at tackle, namely right tackle, in lieu of Brian Balaga's lingering injury. But I wouldn't classify it as a whole at guard. I think there's some talent there. I think it's interesting to watch, to compare last summer when we were watching them in training camp and preseason and talking about the state of the offensive line, the backup offensive line. And a lot was written and said about, oh, there's no depth, they're so terrible, etc., etc. But then you saw a lot of those guys getting thrown into the mix early on in the season due to all the different injuries up front. And they held up pretty well individually. Remember, it's a good reminder about how intricate line play is and how much those guys rely on each other up there. Yes, when you play five backups, they look like five backups. But you play a backup with, four other starters, you've got a puncher's chance. And I thought James Campen did yeoman's work last year in that regard. Status of Jones' PED suspension? He's suspended. He can participate in practice. He can play in preseason games, but once the season begins, he is not allowed to play or practice in those first 2 weeks. Joshua, the Bears Paws person is, he's a blogger. It's fine. Yeah, you never really know how people are going to react when you poke a little fun, and clearly he didn't take it too well, and that's fine. That's his right. Did you like James Jones' prediction? It reminded me of my former partner at Cheesehead TV. I kind of intimated on Twitter. James Jones predicting the Packers are going to go 16-0. Usually that means they're going to lose the first game, but hey, obviously he's a man of conviction. He's played with Aaron Rodgers. He's allowed his opinion. Which young pass rusher is going to make the biggest jump this year? I say Vince Beagle. I think he's going to maybe not surprise a lot of people, because I think people are expecting him to play well, but I think Packers fans will be pleasantly surprised how well he plays. Richard, we won't know the status of Clay's nose until we get in the locker room there that first day of camp. Will Alexander be the punt returner? Julia, that's something that training camp will definitely bear out. That's going to be one of the more intriguing kind of camp battles, if you will. Because if Jair Alexander ends up being any kind of returner, especially a punt returner, I tend to think that's steep odds for Trevor Davis making the roster in that regard. Antoine Sam Beal, Western Michigan cornerback. Yes, he went to the Giants with a third-round pick in today's supplemental draft. They better not lose week 1 to the Bears. Could happen. Realistically, how much improvement do you expect to see on our defense? Well, I tell you what, it's really hard to say at this point because we haven't really seen them do much of anything. When they put some pads on, they start trying to cover people, trying to stop the run in preseason games. Might have a little better idea, but I will say this. Looking at them on paper, and looking at the personnel they've brought in, I do expect them to get off the field on third down a few more times, and essentially that's what they need. They don't need a top 5 defense. They don't need some Canton-bound group. They need a defense that will get Aaron Rodgers the football a few more times per game. And if they can do that, and just that, that will go a long way to helping this team, propel them to a deep postseason run. You look at Pettine's history, you can't think of too many times. Obviously, didn't win a lot in Cleveland as the head coach, but as a defensive coordinator, his defenses have been very good everywhere he's gone. So I expect, if not a complete turnaround, I do think they will be markedly and noticeably better. If for no other reason, then I think they'll play with 11 guys each time, and they'll be much better at communicating on the field. I think Kentrell Brice will do this year. Kentrell Brice, I think, will definitely compete for a starting job. Yeah, Mike McCarthy said as much. Unruly hair there. Mike McCarthy said he's going to compete for a starting job opposite Clinton Dix. He and Josh Jones are probably going to battle that out, although I wouldn't completely dismiss Marwin Evans in that rotation. But, Brice, he struggled through a lot of injuries early last year before being put on the shelf. We all saw what he could do his rookie year. He's a big hitter. Needs to get it under control a little bit more, I think. We saw some errant attempts last year, but there's a lot of promise there. Will this be recorded live? Yeah, it is being recorded live as we speak. Los Angeles, what's up, Jess? Has Navarro Bowman signed anywhere? Not that I know of, Steve. He may have late in the process and I missed it, but I think he's still a free agent. And no, I don't expect the Packers to take a look. Do we need a new strength and conditioning coach? No, they do not. Make sure you check out my podcast with former Packers linebacker Brady Papinga at PackersNews.com. We talked extensively about the strength and conditioning staff, Mark Levat in particular, and Brady really broke it down in that podcast about why fans should not be calling for the strength and conditioning staff to be fired. Which is more impressive, Rodgers' all-time passer rating or interceptions ratio? I would probably say the interception ratio. I mean, it's just mind-boggling. In a day and age where, yes, the rules are wide open and they allow the offense to really kind of, take advantage of the defense down the field, there's still plenty of balls that are playable from other quarterbacks that just aren't there in Rodgers' game, and it's incredibly impressive to watch. Is Steve Miller a good choice for pre-game celebration? He's a local guy, Wisconsin, right? Sure. He's better than whatever 90s act they had last year, I'll tell you that. But yeah, it makes a lot of sense. He's probably one of the few guys who would say yes, so definitely. Are the Packers still interested in Breeland? I doubt it. I know there was interest prior to the draft, but after they got those 2 young corners, and they saw them working through the spring, and they haven't, reportedly there's been no further contact with Breeland, I would tend to think they're happy with what they got. Can you make me an old-fashioned? I could, but then I'd just drink it myself. Need football so much, Richard, I hear you. We'll see. Any rookie wide receivers start? Drew, that's a tall order for these kids who are going to be coming in and having to make impact on special teams, even just to make the team. Maybe if somebody gets in there and makes a play every single day at the start of camp, maybe they warrants a few more looks and a few more reps with Rodgers. But it's an uphill battle. They will undoubtedly be given plenty of opportunities to stake their claim, but the offense is so complex. There's so many adjustments they have to be ready for. Not the least of which is playing with Aaron Rodgers and doing everything as he expects it to be done. It's tough. It's tough. And I think, barring injury, it's going to be tough for those guys to crack the starting lineup. Sorry, guys. Macklin in the slot until Cobb is fully healthy. Sean, I think they'll probably just use Ty Montgomery a little bit more in the slot. And again, that's just, preseason stuff and camp stuff. Cobb should be ready to go by week 1. How much playing time will Josh Jones be seeing? A starter? Well, he'll definitely be in the mix to start at safety, but he's got to win the job. It won't be handed to him. He obviously flashed some real promise last year, but his play really fell off as the year went on. Now, some of that was scheme related, there's no doubt, but he himself, said that his play was not up to snuff second half of the season, and he's anxious to make a turnaround. Any news on Rodgers' contract? Nothing. Do you live in Green Bay during the season? I do not, John. I fly into all the games. 5,000 yards for A-Rod. It could be done, but I doubt it. Will we miss Brett Good? Probably, which means they'll probably sign him eventually. Hey, who do you think will get the right guard spot? Justin McCray. I think there'll be a fun battle to watch in camp, provided they all stay healthy, relatively so. I think that's McCray's job. All right, everybody, I'm going to have to jump. Thank you so much for all the questions. Sorry if I couldn't get to yours. I'll be back tomorrow, and I promise I'll be in better spirits. But in the meantime, make sure you're checking PackersNews.com for all the latest on the Green Bay Packers. And barring any breaking news overnight, talk to you guys tomorrow. Thanks a lot, everyone.